So hay is in the barn at this point in terms of what they have, what they know on these guys, and essentially what they think they're going to do across the board. Is it fair to say that things at this point are pretty much predetermined?
The first two things, yes. Yeah, they're not getting any new information. It's kind of all set unless, there's been times where something comes out like the day of the draft, right, that there's breaking news. But what they're doing this week is setting the board. And, okay, we've been looking at all these guys for months. Here's how we want to do it. Some teams may have their board set at this point. Some teams may still be debating. Like Tennessee, the top of that board's set. That board's been set. Sounds like maybe the Giants, there's still a lot of debate going on inside the building and what they want to do at the top. So that's what this week is for, but that stuff doesn't really leak until right about now. Bill Belichick was on the Pat McAfee show a couple years ago and shared that in terms of from the team side, right? Everything we've heard to this point is either agents or college coaches or people hyping up the players, and because that's what they want to do. They want to hype up their guys. The teams don't. It's hard for things to leak from the teams because they haven't set their boards yet. They're setting them right about now. Bill said the real accurate information doesn't really leak from the teams until about 12 hours before the draft. And if you go back to last year, it kind of holds up. The real, yep, Drake May's the pick. You didn't start hearing those rumblings definitively. It was about 10, 11 hours before the draft.
Well, I want to push back on that. And you're the messenger for Belichick a year or two ago whenever he said that. Right. Because you can go back 2019, and this is one example. Everyone knew the Patriots loved Joanne Williams. Went in the second round. Yeah. And that came out this week. Of course, teams are not volunteering. Hey, here's who we love. We'll give you time to do your own mock drafts and simulations, which I would say this is what this week is about for them. They know who they like. You're deciding third round, okay, if this guy's available versus that one, what do we want to do? Okay, we get a trade offer. That's what they're working through now. They know who they like. I would say the good teams do.
Yeah.
But the leaks, those will happen, man, because Bill had it on such a lockdown from a media standpoint for a long, long time. But they operated in a way that was unique relative to the rest of the league. Other GMs talk. They talk to insiders who swap that information with other GMs to learn about their teams. That's all the way going around. It's just a matter of when do those insiders actually give it up publicly.
That's true. And I think it's more like the top of the draft because you kind of have to wait. That stuff's going to be held. We like this player who's a third-round pick is going to be volunteered a little more than, if you have the second pick, what you're going to do and make those teams a third wait and maybe fish out a trade.
All right. So when it comes to the hours leading up to and specifically with the Giants, what's the debate going on right now? Who do you think is winning on that side of the debate?
I don't know who's winning right now. I feel like there's a chance the quarterback side wins out just because they usually do, right?
Don't give me hope.
We know teams will get, and I refuse to get my hopes up. So I say that thinking still it's going to be Abdul Carter, but I've seen too many teams get stupid at the quarterback position where, I know what they're capable of. It's a position that makes people go insane because if you hit, the upside is so tremendous. And I think this is a really unique scenario where they're should be coming at it from a point of extreme desperation. When you look at Joe Shane, when you look at Brian Daboll, when they're in the positions that they're in, their seat's as hot as anybody in the league. They need a win right now. They probably need to make the playoffs this year. Are you doing that without a quarterback? I know they signed Russell Wilson. I know they signed Jameis Winston. Do those guys believe that, are you putting your job security in 30-whatever-year-old Russell Wilson or in Jameis Winston? Are you betting your job on that? It almost feels like the Giants' approach could be what the Patriots did at left tackle last year, which was, all right, as long as we just have bodies, as long as we just have options, the more options we have, the better chance something works out.
Well, that worked out well.
Again, not saying any of this is right. People do.
I know. I'm not busting on you.
No, I know.
Bill did that at left tackle with Riley Reif and Calvin Anderson the year before. And again, you saw how that went 2 years ago.
But people will do dumb stuff with desperation. It's a position where people are already teams will already sort of go outside the box. I think that there's probably some people in there that understand that that's not the path forward. And no, we need to work with the situation we have. And if we add a player like Abdul Carter, that'll help us more than, chasing our tail at quarterback. But then you probably have other people in there that are just, we have old Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Tommy DeVito on the roster. You're telling me we're not going to try to find a better quarterback than that? Which, by the way, they can still do not a 3.
So that is the current buzz, that teams want to come up and trade with a Minnesota or someone in the early 20s ahead of Pittsburgh who might just sit and wait and be like, Shedeur Sanders, come to us. Because my pushback, and Michael Holley is going to be in tomorrow broadcasting the Shedeur Sanders is 3, he's going, and I've argued with him on television enough to say it's not going to happen. Because Shedeur Sanders is just not good enough. Not for the number 3 pick like we've been talking about with Will Campbell, but to be in the conversation. Like, it's not something you can even talk yourself into. You have to be desperate beyond reason, more desperate than normal. And if you're able to talk yourself into a stupid trade, here's a future first so we can come up to 19 and get him ahead of the Steelers at 21, that to me is more likely. Because in the process, you say, we'll get Abdul Carter and have our cake and eat it too later with the quarterback late in the first round.
So a sneaky idea that like I try to fit into some mock drafts. Like, it's not just the Giants need a quarterback. Andrew Berry, the GM of the Browns, said earlier this offseason after he went to the Colorado Pro Day, like, man, I wish I could have them both. Talking about Hunter and Sanders. Do they take, and this would be so Browns, wouldn't it, to take Travis Hunter at 2 and then trade up, jump the Steelers, and draft Shedeur Sanders at like 18 or 19 and reunite those guys? I'm not saying it would work.
I'm in.
But wouldn't that be so Browns?
I just can't have Travis Hunter catching passes from Joe Flacco right now and the remnants of Joe. Like, that guy deserves a better quarterback.
It doesn't. And getting back to the Giants for a second here.
Yeah.
You talk about whether or not you want to put the franchise in the hands of either Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston. And as unappealing as both of those options are, you have to convince yourself that it's better to do it with Shedeur Sanders. And I can't get there. It's not like we're talking about the best quarterback in the draft.
Right.
In a draft that's lacking of quarterback. He's not even that. So why would you do that if you're the Giants?
Because they're desperate. Because you're grasping at straws. Because that's kind of what, again, your job's on the line. Is somebody in there? Because clearly somebody is. Because it's being reported that there's still a push inside the building. Is somebody in there looking at it and saying, I'd rather have another option. I'd like to have another fallback, and you don't use the 3rd overall pick on a fallback, obviously. Let me be clear. This is not me defending it. This is just me kind of guessing maybe what the conversation is, and I do think what the happy medium is and what it will ultimately be, Andrew, is what you laid out. All right, we're not going to use the 3rd pick, but we'll open up assets to move back up into the first round and get Sanders, or if he doesn't fall, maybe they really like Jackson Dart or one of these other guys. The thing about that, though, is now you're borrowing a future first, if that's what it takes. I don't think you're going to see a lot of future picks move this year because this is a weaker draft. And are you going to borrow from a better class? But if that's what you have to do to get a quarterback, that's what you have to do. For whatever team is on the other side of that, they're going to be one of the winners of the draft. If you can get a future
Your second
first.
and third rounders this year should not be viewed on the same level as second and third rounders next year.
No.
Gotcha.
Well, especially not the first rounders. I'd say second
and
or third, you might have an argument in certain positions, not all of them. I'll also just throw this wrinkle in there because, again, the impact on this is the Patriots. We've all come to accept and agree. Will Campbell's going to be the pick at 4 because the Giants are not taking Shedeur Sanders at 3. They might get him. We think it'll be later. Ownership. You don't have to be desperate as a head coach and a GM to make a silly decision as we've been describing. You just need your boss to say, do this. And I don't know where the Maras are right now because you could argue, hey, if you tell your, lame duck coach and GM, you have to do this, and they abide by it and it fails, well, you're not holding them accountable by firing them. You're holding yourself. Like, you can't do good business that way. But they might just go, I don't care. I bought in. I see the future here with the guy's the son of a Hall of Famer. We can make it work in New York. And we don't know how the ownership feels.
And that's what would make that pick happen, is ownership coming down the hall. Because Shedeur Sanders is going to sell tickets.
Yeah.
And he's going to get you on TV and all of that. And that's where, again, there's no football reason for it. I'm with you that taking Shedeur Sanders at 2 or at 3 is tough to justify from a football reason. But if you're ownership, there's a lot of reasons to like that pick in the short term, even if you're not looking at the bigger picture. All
right. We've talked ourselves in circles, especially with these top 4 picks. I want to go a little bit further down the board. You've done, mock drafts, and I heard you on with Felgram as they were, quizzing you on players that, you may have an idea on some potential Patriots. I just want to get your thoughts on a few guys. Tiger Shanks.
Oh, this is one of the guys Andrew was talking about this morning, right? I don't remember if you.
Damn it! I didn't know you had heard it.
I saw Andrew's tweet. Yeah.
Had you heard of Tiger Shanks?
Not before this, but I had heard of Parker Titsworth.
And what had you heard about Parker Titsworth?
His name's Parker Titsworth. He wears number 69. He's a long snapper, right?
Center.
Center.
Ooh,
okay.
we got him.
5'11", 288.
There is a 5'11", 280-pound guard that some people think is going to get drafted in this draft.
From?
North Dakota. North Carolina.
Wow.
Has a
Willie
longer
Lampkin.
wingspan than Will Campbell.
Yes.
He might.
They call him Jaquay Wiggles.
No, don't do that to him. And it's Jaquantre. Jaquantre Wiggles.
Correct the super fake name. Yes.
Correct.
Distant descendant of George Washington Carver.
Well, there is a guy in the draft whose nickname is Big Wiggle.
But
Desmond Watson, 434-pound, 64-pound defensive tackle. From
different
Florida.
guy.
Okay.
It's a different guy altogether. Have we made up our minds? Have you made up your mind if it is Will Campbell? Can he play left tackle?
I think he can. I think he did it in the SEC at a high level for a number of years. And is he going to be the best left tackle in the history of the game? No, probably not. Can he be a guy that plays that position for 8 to 10 years and is a solid starter and you don't have to worry about it being a need? Yeah, I think you can get that out of him. And in this draft, if that's what you get at the 4th overall pick, you did fine.
Just don't ask him to reach into his pocket for anything.
Okay. That's twice now, Ryan. It's unkind and it's unfair. Yeah, I'm sure he can reach his own pockets. How dare you?
I have not been high on Will Campbell. I would be fine with the pick because of how terrible the left tackle situation has been here. You have a franchise quarterback. You need to protect him. I don't think he'll ever be a top 10 left tackle. I don't know if he can stick there. And I don't like the fact that, we don't really know if he can play the position we're drafting him for. I would take Armand Membu and rather risk that he can transition to left tackle. And if he doesn't, we'll have a right tackle in the future because Morgan Moses is 34. But you just have to fix that spot. And he's not so much worse than a Tyler Warren or pick another player, Mason Graham, that it feels like a reach. Your need absolutely has to be filled, and you can't be like, fingers crossed we get Josh Connerly at 24.
You can't ignore the position.
It's a disappointment.
No.
We just can't expect Pro Bowl Hall of Fame left tackle. That's not the class. That's not the player. If he's above average, this is a success.
Something that drives me nuts is when people say, he would have been the 4th or 5th tackle in last year's draft. Okay. If Joe Alt was in this class, I would say take him instead of Will Campbell. Obviously, I'd say take Olufashanu. They're not. And you can't just tell Roger Goodell, we don't like any of these players. Just put us on the board for 4 next year. We'll make it then. You got to work with the class you have. Will Campbell's the best pick available in the class they have.
I would say it's more fair to say cargo pants. Don't ask him to stuff anything down the side of his leg. And that's going to be an issue.
When he gets down into the 3-point stance, does he tip over?
It's more 2-point stance guy, honestly.
Yeah, see?
Well, it's because he can't reach the ground.
But it's also by choice. It's not just out of necessity. Alex Barth, Rieneman, 98.5, thesportshub.com. He'll be on with everybody presumably all week. But what are you doing on draft night specifically? What are you doing Thursday night?
I will be with Joe Murray up at the Brook. We'll be doing a live show from there.
Okay, good.
So,
all right.
all night.
Alex Barth, appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.